Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks! I remember exactly where I was when I first booted up Arkham Asylum. I heard the rumors that this game was good, but I didn't believe it. The best game I had played in the superhero genre prior was Spider-Man: Shattered Dimensions. And that ain't saying much. I played Asylum and it was a scary, claustrophobic game that made me feel uncomfortable in all the right ways a horror game should. Then City came along and blew the entire world out of the water. It gave up being claustrophobic and scary for being more along the lines of a classic Batman story. Its tone was great, its gameplay was refined, and its ending left every single Bat fan out there wanting more, and it's even been listed as one of the very best games of all time. Then, Arkham Origins came along, and while it wasn't to the same level of detail and care that Rocksteady's games were, the new studio did a fine job at crafting a great origin story, and even attempted to tweak the gameplay in a few successful and not so successful ways. Then, as we thought the golden era of Rocksteady Batman games was over, Arkham Knight comes along, with a new villain, plot, and official end to my favorite game series of all time. So what did I think of Batman: Arkham Knight? I had extremely high expectations, and now I will show you in the season finale of UnBiased Reviews. Be the Batman is a great tagline. In the previous game, a linear and creepy asylum was the setting. The second game had a portion of Gotham walled off for the criminally insane. Origins had kind of Gotham? And then Arkham Knight comes along and gives us all of Gotham. Understandably, with the enlargement of the world comes the necessary enlargement of the scope, and boy does it deliver. The Joker is dead. The world is forever changed, and in the midst of this death of the greatest criminal mastermind of all time, the Scarecrow has gathered the greatest of Batman foes, and a new foe, the Arkham Knight, as they all combine money, resources, and power to militarize Gotham City and kill the Batman once and for all. The guy that plays the Scarecrow in this game simply knocks it out of the park, as he harkened back to the first game in tone, but kept the more open-ended and Batman-y feel of the second game. The Arkham Knight makes a fantastic addition to the Batman lore, and while its identity isn't exactly a mystery, I still enjoyed the ride there, and was able to believe the identity when it happened. It worked. After you beat the game, you still have a lot of side missions to pursue, whether it be fighting the Man-Bat or taking down the Arkham Knight's militia, on roadblocks, or a creepy pig-faced human butcher, who I oddly love now. The story and side quests in this game will definitely take you for a loop, whether it be the fantastic handling of the Joker actually staying dead, or the various twists and turns that the plot takes. Let me explain what I mean. I don't care what's happening when I read a comic book. The characters either come back through what I deem as comic book logic, or the death was completely faked, or the series will be retconned and declared as non-canon. These inevitabilities, like Ra's al Ghul being collected, for all of his ashes being collected from space and put into a Lazarus pit to reverse his death. Wait a minute, guys. What if they didn't get all the ashes? Wouldn't he come back to life without an eyelid or something? What kind of life is that? Would we want to live in that pain? Anyways, I'm done going off on tangents. The lack of consequence I've encountered in comic books, and your one-dimensional plot to kill somebody or take over the world, is what makes me distance myself from reading comic books and actually caring about the events going on. They're either run-of-the-mill or they lack consequence and longevity. Arkham Knight found a middle ground that I'm quite fond of. They still had massive amounts of comic book lore. However, the writers were not afraid to make their own story and write it out over 3 games, how they believed that the legend of the Batman would come to an end. They don't dance the line between no consequence, and fear not, the Joker is staying dead. Everything in this game will keep you on the edge of your seat. In a narrative-driven game like this, soundtrack can make or break your game, and luckily the music in this game hits you hard and drives you into the moment. Whether it be sad music when Batman has horrible things inevitably happen to him in the endgame, or the tank music get your blood pumping, or the Predator music, which has always been the highlight of the soundtracks in my opinion. Every single track knocks it out of the park. Moments like what I'm about to show you can completely make or break a game.
The Batman is here. Do not let him through. Scarecrow needs to finish his work.
They're going to kill me!
You were warned, gentlemen. Batman is here.
I'd like to talk about the gameplay, and this is going to be a long one simply because of the sheer scope of the gameplay. So, let's start off with the biggest addition, the Batmobile. I heard the Batmobile was going to be in the game, and my first reaction was, oh crap, now the focus won't be on Batman anymore, and to an extent, I was right. However, much to my shock, it didn't bother me. While in any other situation this would piss me off, this isn't some Joker scheme. This is a full-out militaristic invasion. Taking out these drones is as satisfying as it could ever possibly be, as I found myself locking in during most of these drone battles, as I found them the most challenging parts of the game, and the most un-Batman things you could do in a Batman game. However, in the end, these tank battles come down to personal preference, and I think the tank battles are integrated into everything, ultimately. Riddler trophies, Riddler races, free roaming, and the campaign. However, something that nobody ever brings up that pisses me off in their reviews that I find unfair is that to counterbalance the large amount of tank battles in the main campaign, all but 2 of the most wanted missions require you to use the Batmobile. So I don't think the balancing is an issue, especially when the Batmobile feels and plays as it should. This was the most surprising aspect of the game to me, as I swear I walked into this game thinking I would hate it. The only thing that annoys me, and annoys some people, is the lack of boss fights in this game, and that practically every boss fight involves the tank. This didn't really bother me, but it bothered a lot, and this is my take on it. The boss battles that Rocksteady Studios directly made in the past, excluding Origins, were not that good. The best battle of Arkham City was the Mr. Freeze battle, which, as great as it was just a glorified Predator encounter. Every other boss battle was pretty weak, whether it be smacking Poison Ivy's plants with batarangs, sneaking around a sewer, throwing batarangs at a charging Bane, or just freezing Clayface solid and then proceeding to button match. Rocksteady's boss battles were never that great in retrospect, and that's coming from a diehard fan. They always let me down, with the exception of the Freeze battle, and to my pleasant surprise, every single encounter with the militia was like that battle, but even more difficult due to enhancements I will touch on later on. So do boss battles help a game? Yes, but in the end, I think Rocksteady deliberately cut their losses, as they were never that great with boss battles in the first place. I will say that the few on-foot boss battles are pretty forgettable, with the exception of the Riddler boss fight, and most of them just come down to fighting minions and performing a beatdown on the person in question. However, they did Boba Fett Deathstroke in this game. Not cool, Rocksteady. Not cool.
Being Boba Fetted. Being Boba Fetted is when someone's a really cool character and they just get taken out like that in the stupidest way possible.
Now, back to the review. When Batman gets out of the tank, gameplay resumes as custom with the Arkham series. Detective, combat, and stealth are the 3 primary modes of play, but all are completely revamped and in all the right ways. For example, with detective mode in previous Arkham games, except for Origins, solving crimes was a matter of scanning a substance and following it until the trail ran cold. In this game, you go through security camera footage, scan individual frames, and the game even borrows one of the better elements from Arkham Origins by letting you reconstruct a crime scene on occasion. See, I actually had to think in this game. In Arkham City and Arkham Origins, not to mention Asylum is the worst culprit, I always found myself looking at a Riddler trophy, which are the collectibles in this game for those of you who don't know, and saying to myself, oh, it's one of those. No problem, trophy collected, take down Riddler, bam, go drink my Diet Coke and leave. However, now everything is different, where I had to adapt my strategies from the things I would do even back in the first game. Now I have to hack Riddler's robots or integrate the Batmobile into my riddle solving, which I actually thought made me have to think much harder. I remember one that had me so confused. It was like, okay, a bunch of Riddler question mark panels that you had to hit with the Batmobile within a time limit. It was literally impossible, until I realized that I had to go a block down, plug the car into a power source, hit it from a block away, and then spam a missile barrage into all the question marks. It took me 20 minutes. So either I'm incredibly bad at Edward Nygma's riddles, or this is great game design on behalf of Rocksteady. Probably a little of both. He made me work for that 100%. Riddler taunting me when I failed to solve riddles doesn't help either. I remember I was at low health, mangled by this one riddle with my car completely trashed, so I just gave up and turned the game off as Riddler was calling me a chimp and an idiot.
Stroke! 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 Stop mocking me!
The next day I came back with my thinking cap and solved it. But anyways, this is the most intellectually challenging of the games in terms of having to think when you're doing things, as opposed to just standing on a platform and backclawing a Riddler trophy to you, or just following a trail. See, the thing about Arkham Combat is that others have tried to copy it, and it's the elegant simplicity that requires technique that is so sought after by all game developers these days. This game shows that Rocksteady really knows how to do their combat still, as the brutes from Arkham Origins were expanded upon into shock glove brutes, knife brutes, and brutes. Then there are combat medics who can revive KO'd thugs mid-combat, or apply an electrical charge to a thug to make them momentarily invulnerable. This combat system in its final form finally expresses the elegant goal of the combat: to make a simple combat system that avoids button mashing and prioritizes strategic gameplay. Bravo to Rocksteady.
So, what do you think of that?
However, this is where my first con comes in. The game utilizes this dual play system where Batman can team up with Catwoman, Nightwing, or Robin, and you will utilize both characters in a bunch of fighting scenarios and one Predator encounter. However, my biggest problem with this is the lack of Nightwing, Robin, and Catwoman from anywhere else in the game. They're only in these small instances. Simple things like this, or playing as Azrael, that are in the game cannot be done freely. Adding on to this annoyance is the absence of challenge maps from the game, which was where the majority of my replayability came in from all the other Arkham titles. In this game, they're replaced with AR challenges, where you play as Batman 90% of the time without option. In literally every other game, you could choose your character or go into a challenge map on regular or extreme. Since this game has the best combat and Predator encounters of the series, the lack of challenge maps makes me all but let down. Then the fact that 3 out of the 5 main AR challenge categories involve the Batmobile kinda does piss me off. There are all of 4 Predator maps. 4. Asylum had 8, and that was just the first game in the series. Taking this assward step backwards off a cliff makes absolutely no sense to me, let alone not being allowed to say, play as Robin in an AR challenge. Please, Rocksteady, I'm begging you to patch it in, as this is my only real problem with this game. This is the one and only instance where I feel the game took a definite step backwards in terms of quality and replay value. However, who knows, Rocksteady might not hear me. There have been more oblivious people in the past.
Even the Jedi.
The Jedi use their power for good.
Good is a point of view, Anakin. The Sith and the Jedi are similar in almost every way, including their quest for greater power.
The Sith rely on their passion for their strength. They think inwards, only about themselves.
And the Jedi don't.
Now, time for my favorite, the Predator. This game showed off the Predator mode to its fullest potential. Prior, you only had about 6 or 8 guys in a room at a time, all armed, and don't get me wrong, they were very dangerous. Now, the stakes are higher in this game with adaptive militia, and up to 16 guys at a time in a small enclosed space. This makes you take advantage of your gadgets and strategies, more so than in previous games. Also, Rocksteady took quite a few cues from their Mr. Freeze fight in Arkham City that nobody else seems to acknowledge. Whenever you fight the Arkham Knight's militia in the game, you're fighting a military force. That being said, in Predator encounters, they're not stupid thugs. They adapt to your strategies and act smart. Attacking them from floor grates, they're gonna bomb the floor grates. Hanging from vantage points, they're gonna mine them and shoot them down. Picking off the inevitable lone idiot on the other side of the room, they're gonna group up. This adaptive Predator experience, with the addition of brutes that take at least 20 seconds to take down, and the combat medics who can revive people post-takedown and snitch about how you took them down, not even mentioning the drones that fly around and spot you, and the thermal-proof gear and stuff that detects you when you're using detective mode. Oh god, I could go on forever. This Predator is perfect. It's the best that I've ever seen it. I can finally be the Batman. Shame I can't do it in AR challenges, though. Now, time to get real and address this game's controversy. Batman Arkham Knight has accumulated a lot of it. First off, note that I played this game on its optimized platform, the PlayStation 4. This does not mean that I condone the state that Warner Bros. Released this game on. I feel sorry for my PC gaming brethren, and I'm appalled by the state this game was released in. However, I see far too many people letting this impede their judgment of the game. Angry Joe much? I will recommend that you stay away from the PC port and refund your PC copies ASAP, and instead get the console version, or if you feel hurt by Warner Brothers, don't buy it at all. Show Warner Brothers that you won't take this crap. I would rather watch this terrible dialogue sequence than play Arkham Knight on PC.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. not like here. Here everything is soft and smooth.
I'm sorry, guys. Nobody deserves that kind of torture. I heard that they used it as a method of advanced interrogation on Guantanamo Bay. The prisoners never recovered.
You just have to stab your eyes out. I don't have any eyes! Ah!
But anyways, let me explain what I'm trying to get at. A great example here is to bring up Spider-Man 3. A lot of people hated that movie, and I hated it too. But what was wrong with it? It was in good hands. Sam Raimi knew what he was doing, it had good casting, and the story itself had setup that was executed over the previous two films that had massive build-up and potential. So what went wrong? It wasn't the director, but Sony. Sony forced him to put 3 villains in the movie, and forced multiple things like video games and tie-in material as the foreproduct of the movie. That's movie making problem 101. A prime example of this is Arkham Knight's PC port. Due to time constraints and already delaying the game as it is, Warner Bros., Rocksteady's owner, pretty much the boss of the boss, made them give the PC port to a smaller team, because let's face it, PC ports of games are not the main demographic. Was it shady that they released trailers on PC at 60 frames per second when it's capped at 30? Yes. However, Rocksteady didn't willingly want to do this. It was the parent company. Think of it as Sam Raimi making the best of a bad situation and turning out Spider-Man 3. However, on the flip side, the console versions that Warner Bros. Didn't get their hands on is a damn fine product, and deserves to be acknowledged and treated as such. The PC glitches and problems do not make it a bad game. Don't rage at me yet, unless your game completely broke, and let me bring up a parallel. Assassin's Creed Unity. Remember that train wreck? I remember being hyped for it personally. Unity was a different issue. Unity was not an amazing game. It was average, and it had all those bugs which made it terrible. I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan, and I can tell you that it wasn't the glitches that made me absolutely hate Unity to the bottom of my heart. It was just a nail in the coffin. So don't let a poor PC port dissuade you from getting this game. Just get a console version and enjoy this good game. However, it is a shame how inadequate the PC version truly is. My condolences come out to all you PC gamers out there. Okay. I'm in my bomb shelter, preparing for backlash in 3, 2, 1. Now, I would not be surprised if you thought I was some fanboy right now who bought the game full price for the season pass and a container of Vaseline and tissues ready on the go. But I want to tell you guys something. I didn't. This right here is a picture of me holding my Batman Arkham Knight copy, with a GameFly envelope in the background. I didn't pay for this game because I didn't have faith in it. Now I was in for a pleasant surprise. After I defeated a villain that looked strikingly similar to my ex-girlfriend, I sat down and thought about the game. Honestly thought about it. I loved it. It had a great narrative and feels like a genuine endgame for the Batman. While the Arkham Knight's identity was an underwhelming reveal, as it was less subtle than a bullet hitting somebody's face, it took a bunch of concepts that I believe were all but burned out and reinvigorated them. The narrative's twists and turns kept me captivated as the culminations of what has been an arc that has captivated me since my early teenage years has come to a bittersweet end, despite how I thought I would suffer from Nolan syndrome and the game would crash and burn. Like the third movie in the Nolan movies. The moment when you're locking in and fighting the main militia, or stopping Two-Face's men from robbing banks, and finally collect that last Riddler trophy and realize that you haven't slept, is a feeling that I haven't been graced with in a long time. If a game got me to truly lock in and enjoy doing so, that is damn noteworthy, and I'm finishing up all my AR challenge stars and New Game Plus side quests. If a game gets me to 100% the story and complete game and set out to get a platinum trophy, Rocksteady's doing a damn great job in terms of game making, and that all seems to be the overall consensus. Now, don't get the PC port, as that deserves a 2 out of 10, simply because of how broken it was. However, the game is easily worth a 9 out of 10, and I mean that. And if you don't like the Batmobile segments, fine, it's an 8.5 simply because of how much further the non-Batmobile gameplay elements have been taken. Everything was ramped up to the next level and done properly in my opinion, which is what an ideal sequel should do. I honestly have to dig deep personally to find something I don't like, and I guess the closest you could get is the upgrade tree now requiring multiple points for a single upgrade. However, that's just for replayability and for longevity of the actual game. But that's the most minor of nitpicks, and it just added on to the replay value. I was tempted to give it a 10, but simply because of its inability to please all players, the underwhelming Arkham Knight identity, and its arguable overuse of the Batmobile, it deserves a 9, and an 8.5 for those that dislike the Batmobile. When you close out this video, notice what everybody else says. They either pan it for the Batmobile without focusing on anything else, or honestly breaking it down. Angry Joe. Or they critically acclaim it. I was pleased with the game, and it got me to truly lock in and become the Batman, a fantasy that I will not be ceasing to live out for a long time. If you guys want proof that this game is genuine, here's something I found after the full ending of the game and achieved 100% completion. A thank you, with a genuine cast photo of everybody involved in Arkham Knight. And if that isn't love from the fans directly from the developers, I don't know what that is. It's a bittersweet moment for me, as I kiss my fondest series and memories in gaming goodbye, and look to a new series that can potentially captivate my love, interest, and care as much as Batman Arkham Knight did. As a great man once said, it is better to die a hero than live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Batman Arkham, you will be missed. Well guys, this is Tom from the UBR, and everybody have a good day. Now, it's time for me to end Season 2 of Unbiased Reviews, so I can continue to prowl the rooftops of Gotham until October of this coming year. Thanks to all the support my small but awesome fanbase has been giving me ever since the beginning, and anybody else that has joined me along the way. You guys, no matter how small your numbers are, make doing this one of the things I love most in my spare time. Stay safe, and have a great summer. Your pal Tom from the UBR. Fear not, I will still do a solo or group podcast with the behind the scenes crew and put it up in the meantime. Until then, I'll see you guys next time on Unbiased Reviews, Season 3.